Hi, my name is Chizoba Anyeji, an associate at Stern & Brown Partners. This podcast is hosted by the technology, entertainment, media, and sports sector, and we will be discussing nailing ads legally in Nigeria. Every business needs some form of advertisement, whether it is putting up a billboard post or running a viral ad campaign on social media. And that is why it's important to know what to do to ensure that your ads are compliant and so you do not run foul of the law. We have two amazing speakers with us today. And before I introduce them, listen. There are two principal laws that govern advertising in Nigeria. You have the Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigerian Act, and you have the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission Act. Guess what? Thankfully, representing us in their personal capacities, we have Mr. Chukwudi Ezeaba, the head of legal of ARCON, Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria, and we have a principal legal officer of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, Mr. Frederick Omatseyin. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today, sir. And we're really happy to have you. Without wasting too much time and delving right straight into the topic, our very first question is to Mr. Fred, which is, what are the fundamental principles of advertising? So, for example, you're a brand. What do you need to know if you want to ensure that your ads are compliant with the law?
Well, for compliance, the law has stipulates, the do's and don'ts, right? And where companies or entities that want to make adverts complies with those laws, then we can say those advertisements, all right, they are in compliance. And what do we mean? Compliance means the ad should be such that it's not misleading, such that it's not deceptive, such that can enable, the Nigerian consumers to make an informed decision. So when we assess, these informations, as we see, look, there is no way the advertisement can, infringe on the right of the Nigerian consumers, then we can say, look, this advertisement is compliant.
Thank you. So we'll be moving on to the next question, really, which flows from this. So give us an overview of those principles from the Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria's position.
Well, the Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria Act specifically stipulates that advertisements must be legal, must be decent, truthful, honest, and mindful of the cultural and ethical background of Nigeria. So we should be able to understand that we are very religious and cultural sensitive people. And with the multi-ethnic and the religious background of Nigeria, you should be able to understand that whatever you do may affect the other person negatively. So it is expected that you should put all these things into cognizance when you are playing around advertisement and marketing communication in Nigeria.
Speaking of those brands, right, and having to advertise to Nigerian consumers, I want to ask a question that has to do with choice of modeling, because I also know that this question relates to the conversation of having to portray advertising to the Nigerian customers.
Yeah, to do that, one thing the Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria Act has done in recent times is to ensure that local content takes precedence. We encourage models, voiceover artists to be Nigerian. In fact, we've gone a step further to ensure that the ambience should, as much as possible, reflect Nigeria. So where a brand or a corporate entity chooses to use foreigners, then it's expected that you need to make some extra payments in order to get those things approved, because we want my Nigerians to talk to Nigerians. I don't want somebody coming from outside to call Chukwudi. Do you understand? So, thank you.
Interesting. I feel like many people are not even aware of that. Like, we just see ads, we don't even know whether what's our own. We are just, if you like the product, you like the product, without even taking note of the fact that these principles and these positions actually exist from the standpoint of the law. And from a brand perspective, imagine having invested millions of naira, millions of dollars in trying to protect your brand image. And what you're getting in return is penalties because you have run foul of the law. So I'm going to move to the next question, which is still to you, Mr. Chukwudi. What are those specific restrictions, or are there categories of products that have specific restrictions? So I'll give an example. I know that for formula, you cannot advertise on a product, a child formula product, saying that, oh, this is a substitute to breast milk. Oh, this is better, or is better than breast milk, or it gives you the same thing that breast milk would give you. Right? That's an example. But there are also other restrictions in terms of alcohol products and others. So I would like to know what products have restrictions and what kind of restrictions exist.
All right. First, there are two categories here. There are products that are expressly prohibited that you cannot advertise. You can't advertise anything that has to do with arms and ammunition. You don't advertise anything that has to do with tobacco. Those are expressly prohibited in Nigeria. Now, there are some that are restricted. Now you're talking about alcoholic beverage brands. Those ones are restricted by the ARCON regulatory framework. A brand is not supposed to expose alcoholic beverage brand before 10 p.m. On the television and before 8 p.m. over the radio. We understand that some of these advertisers are moving from the traditional media to the digital media, and we understand the intricacies. But be that as it may, ARCON is trying as much as possible to ensure that certain advertisements are not exposed when they're not supposed to do. You made mention of formula being marketed or branded as being a better substitute to breastfeeding. Now, we ARCON restrict that. No advertiser is expected to come out to say, look, your baby will survive more or perform better when it takes
Smarter.
or smarter when it takes this brand. These are areas where you have restrictions in advertising. We understand that there are some people who would want to cut corners because social media is difficult to regulate, or rather digital media is the regulation there is more like is more technical. Some people may take the advantage of the loopholes and say whatever they like. That does not mean that ARCON approve those advertisements, and we'll never approve it. We'll still go after those people and ensure that they comply with the provisions of the law.
Okay, nice. So from the consumer position, because at the end of it all, when you see, even from your explanations, one thing that is very clear is that we're thinking of consumers. The law is thinking about the consumers, thinking of consumers. So it's important for us to know, right? From FCCPC, we know that a major arm of it is to focus on consumer protection. So what exactly are those consumer rights, and what role is the FCCPC playing in ensuring that consumer rights are protected?
Very well. You see, like one of our mandates, just like you said, is protection of the Nigerian consumers. One thing we try to do is also inform consumers of their rights. The Nigerian consumers, one thing we try to encourage them to do is to also make effort to know their rights, all right? A lot of Nigerian consumers don't know their rights. So the rights of Nigerian consumers, they are spelled out in the FCCPA from section 114 to section 131. It spells out numerous rights of the Nigerian consumers, all right? But with respect to this conversation, right, the sections that come to bear is section 125, all right, which has to do with, misleading or, misrepresentation, all right? So the Nigerian consumers, they have rights over, adverts that has led them to make, that has misled them to make, wrong choice, all right? Advertisements that, did not enable them to get the benefit of, what they paid for. How do I mean? Every advertisement, what gives credence to an advertisement is not how beautiful or how aesthetics the advert comes out. It's not the beauty of the sound or the graphics, right? So what makes advertisement beautiful? It's its intention, all right, to convey the truth, all right, it's his intention not to mislead, but rather to inform the consumers of the real state, of either a goods or a service, telling the consumer these are the limitations, all right. So not bringing out advertisement that, says one thing and the outcome is different. So what we do in FCCPC is also to monitor and also to enforce. We monitor, we look at adverts that are misleading, we look at adverts that, are deceptive, and sometimes we issue, compliance directive, or sometimes we, order ads to be brought down, or sometimes we even sanctions, companies that put out misleading or deceptive advertisements. Now, the Nigerian consumers, they have rights and they have remedial rights under our laws. All right. The Nigerian consumers, for every goods or service that is put out there by these advertisers that, leads to mislead, that has misled them in making a wrong, or not informed decision, they have right to either, return the goods. They have right for refund, full refund, also under Section 125 of the FCCPA, full refund, and also have right to repair. All right. So where they put out an advertisement, and probably the advertisement is not what for that particular goods or service, is not what is put out there, the Nigerian consumer have a right under the law to refund such thing when they have received them. All right. And also, it is also important to note that for these businesses, all right, advertisement is a sense of responsibility. All right. So when you try to protect your brand, all right, what you're also doing to yourself, all right, is taking responsibility for the Nigerian consumers. And these are the things we try to encourage. So we want to let Nigerian consumers know they have rights. They have rights. And the law has made provision to protect their rights.
Speaking of the rights of Nigerian consumers and having learned, okay, yes, you have a right to refund. I think it's very interesting that we should pivot into a discussion on digital advertisement. And this is why every time you come on social media, there is some form of advertisement. They say data is king. And honestly, we really think about it. Why exactly is data king? It's because people want to use your data. Businesses are using your data to communicate with you, to sell their own businesses to you. So that is why. So we're in a digital age, meaning that every form of information, your information is being gotten to promote and advertise a product to you, right? So when you come on social media, there are various forms of advertisements. So you have people trying to tell you subtly, codedly, without really telling you expressly that they're advertising to you. So there is a big culture on influencer marketing, and it leads to us answering the next question. What are these laws position, Mr. Ezeaba, on this? What are the laws saying? Are the laws regulating traditional advertising the same regulating digital advertisement? And to what extent do these influencers, social media companies, brands, what do they need to know in relation to digital advertising?
Well, the traditional medium of advertising can never be the same with digital medium of advertising. In as much as you may have some regulation that will cut across all of them. But when it comes to digital media advertising, you understand that those ones can be target specific. While both of us can be on the same social media space, advertisements can speak to you without speaking to me. We can view different things while we are watching the same program from different devices. So what we do, or what we expect brands and advertisers to do, is to understand that, look, we need to be very careful. One, I don't think there's any country in the world that will allow data to be used anyhow. The whole advertising ecosystem understands that data is key when you want to maximize your reach, or you're creating content for influencers. I may not be interested in listening to an influencer talking about wig or weave-on. But if you talk about something that will interest me, then good, I'll pay attention. Now, while doing that, we should understand that, look, this data should not be infringed on. They should not target people arbitrarily and say things that they shouldn't say. Advertising, the way it's viewed in Nigeria, really goes down to the point of trying to make people understand that is even the security issue, right? We don't expect you to talk to minors the way you talk to adults. We don't expect you to talk to Christians the way you talk to Muslims. We don't expect you to talk to Southerners the way you talk to Northerners. There are avalanche of cases where issues that are referred to in one part of the country becomes an issue in the other part of the country. Now, when you leave data to be used anyhow they like, that's where you have this kind of problems, and it might lead to, sorry to say, but religious crisis, ethnic violence, and racism, and all manner of things. So, while looking at it, we understand that we need to be specific when we're talking about regulation, and especially the medium. That's why the federal government would every time look at what holds in broadcast media and not really hold in print media. And digital media is on its own. So each of these specific sectors or subsectors are managed differently with specific laws to regulate them.
Recently, there was this case and Betway versus ARCON. And I would like for you to speak a bit more on it, right? But really, the angle we're looking at is that one of the key points from that decision was the fact that ARCON has the oversight functions over every category. So you can't say, oh, I'm a digital marketer, it doesn't apply to me. Oh, I'm a foreign brand, I'm outside the country, but I'm advertising on a Nigerian TV station, it doesn't apply to me. Or, so I would like for you to give us like more insight into that conversation.
Well, that case is an interesting case. DGB versus the Attorney General of the Federation and the Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria. It was a resolving judgment emphasizing the powers of ARCON to regulate advertising, irrespective of the medium, right? So I wouldn't say there is anything so new, because the Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria Act has expressly stated that there's no medium. So long as you're targeting the Nigerian market, advertisement is targeting Nigeria or Nigerian market. ARCON has the right to regulate such advertisement. And when we're talking about regulation, what do we expect? There are two types of regulation. There's self-regulation, there's statutory regulation. Self-regulation is where the market is allowed to regulate themselves. Usually, they may come by way of MOU, and they agree that these are the do's and don'ts. If you don't comply to this is the punishment that will apply. When you're talking about statutory regulation, the law will expressly provide what you do. In Nigeria, statutory regulation is what is applicable. While self-regulation complements that, the primary law in Nigeria is the statutory regulation. What the Act says, you need to get your advertisement material vetted before exposure. Mostly in statutory regulatory claims, what they do is post-exposure regulation, so to speak. They are permitted to expose whatever they want to expose in the material when such material is not in tune with what people want. Then you can be fined. But in Nigeria, we don't want it to happen that way. We said submit your materials to the Advertising Standard Panel, which is a panel created by the Act to vet these materials before they are exposed. Once the material is vetted and approved, then you have the right to expose it. So what the law has said, what the court judgments emphasize on is that ARCON has the right, has the power, has the statutory means to regulate pre-exposure vetting. Okay? So submit your materials, let ARCON, the ASP look at it and approve it before you can expose it in any medium.
This is very interesting. And I think that many people are not even aware of this. So this means that as a social media influencer, you're going about your get ready with me, or as even a multinational trying to use social media to advertise to Nigerians, you have to be intentional, right? And in being intentional, and you need to ask questions, which is, what exactly are those practical steps as a brand that you should take? And this question will be answered by Mr. Fred.
You see, one thing most of these adverts we encourage them to do is being truthful. How do we mean? If you are an influencer or you are a brand ambassador, you need to make it known to the Nigerian consumers the capacity at which you're advertising. And also for the international multinationals that want to come into the country or that are advertising using any platform, even the digital platform, all right? Just like Mr. Chukwudi has said, you need to be conversant with, our local tradition. Where we say, okay, you impute local content into the advertisement. How do we mean? We as a country, we are very traditional people. We have our peculiarities. You should be mindful of, our peculiarities. All right. The way we carry out advertisement here in Nigeria, or the way we perceive them, is different from the way it's perceived in other jurisdictions. For multinationals and international companies, you need to find out. All right. It's even a sense of responsibility. Find out, how do we make advertisement that relates, or that will really resonate with the Nigerian consumers. So that is what we encourage multinationals to do. You need to find out, what do we need, or how does the Nigerian consumers, how do they perceive, or how would they perceive this advertisement? In as much as those advertisements will not, infringe on their rights, then we say they are good to go.
To piggyback on what you said, right? When you think of it, you're a foreign business. You're trying to advertise to Nigerians. You probably don't even understand the terrain. You don't understand the legal terrain. And that's why, like you said, it's really important that you get the right information. And without trying to, flog this issue, we have to keep emphasizing the importance of getting the right information, having to work with a team of lawyers and a team of media specialists, even just so that you are covering all sides. You are taking steps like, okay, what exactly does this regulator require of me? The products, like we mentioned earlier, are they restricted products? Are they prohibited products? Obviously, if they're prohibited, it's not a fair that you can then advertise in. But if they're restricted products and you need to know, okay, how exactly would you know what you need to do? The process of reaching out to this council, the commission, to get the necessary approval, and just ensuring that overall the rights of the consumer is protected and your brand is ultimately protected too. So the next question I would like to ask really is, okay, as a multinational, you've done what you've done and there are issues. What are the penalties that these corporations are likely to face?
For Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria, where there is a breach, the law states that the minimum statutory penalty for corporation is 1 million naira. That is the minimum.
There's no maximum.
Well, there's no maximum. It can go to a million. However, the Advertising Offences Tribunal, which is a tribunal created by the Act, has jurisdiction over imposing these penalties. Where a violator or somebody who infringes, or a company that infringes on the provisions of the Act, fails to redeem such its position, or the Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria will have no choice than to pursue a criminal proceedings against the person before the Advertising Offences Tribunal. And like I said, the minimum penalty the corporation can get is a 1 million naira fine. It is the discretion of the tribunal to determine the maximum. For individual, the minimum the act prescribed is 500,000 naira. And the maximum again is at the discretion of the tribunal.
So are there instances where can you give us like maybe a range of what we've recently seen in terms of penalties?
Well, ARCON does not regulate to strangulate. We take cognizance of the fact that, look, we need to support businesses. And while we focus more on compliance, we don't look at penalizing corporations or individuals. The tribunal, in their wisdom and magnanimity, has not exceeded the minimum so far.
And now to the next question, which is going to be simply, how do consumers who have become victims of false advertising, how do they seek redress?
Very well. But I will answer this question in twofold, right? Now, I want to go back to what Mr. Chukwudi said in terms of, fines, so that we can put this conversation in perspective. Now, for the FCCPA or the FCCPA, right? Because we took cognizance of the fact that, or the Act took cognizance of the fact that the Nigerian consumers are the more exposed people. They are the vulnerable people. Businesses, they can put out any adverts and, they take advantage of, millions of Nigerians, all right? Now, to checkmate this particular, conduct, the Act has stipulated, it might not be as, it's not as soft, will I put it that way, because the businesses, they need to know that for every act of misrepresentation or any deceptive advertisement that has affected the Nigerian consumers, if it is an individual, the fine is 10 million naira under the FCCPA. And where it is a company, for every company that has put out, on misleading or misrepresentation or deceptive, product or adverts, all right? If it's a company, the fine is 100 million naira or 10% of its annual turnover for the preceding year, whichever is higher, all right? So they need to know that for every act, all right, or action that has affected the Nigerian consumers, all right, there is a provision of the law that has given the Nigerian consumers a level of protection. Now, under the FCCPC, what we also do, we have what we call the Cooperation and Assistance Framework, where you say, we don't want to go into take the 10 yards of the law, right? And just to add also, in addition to those fines, there are also, JTEM, because the Act criminalized every action or every conduct against the Nigerian consumer. So you can find a situation where an individual has put up a wrong advertisement. If he is prosecuted, it can, serve JTEM. And whereas the businesses, 2 of the directors can serve JTEM. All right. So these are things that are there. But in the wisdom of the commission, we also develop what we call a cooperation and assistance framework, where businesses can say, look, please, we have taken cognizance of our fault. We want to remedy our action. We don't want you to take all the 9 yards or 100 yards of the law against us. Please, we want to remedy. We want to, correct our wrongs. And we treat the matter, administratively. And fines or penalties, will be awarded. Now, to the question you asked, how do the Nigerian consumers, how can they get, remedial when, a wrong has been done to them? All right. So the first point of call we should try to encourage is that those businesses, all right, that complaint should be first of all be made to the businesses. All right. That a business who has put out a wrong advertisement or a misleading advertisement that has led to, a product that is not fit for purpose. All right. The Nigerian consumer has a right to first of all reach out to that business to either refund the item, to get a refund for his money, or for a repair, even as far as even getting, a restitution. All right. Then when the business fails, because we try to encourage businesses to be self-regulated, sometimes some of all these issues can be dealt with, internally in those businesses, and they don't need to be escalated. All right. But where the business fails, the customer or the Nigerian consumer also has a right to approach, the sector regulator, that regulates those businesses. They can actually go to the sector regulator. But where they fail, probably they cannot, still get remedy there. Then they come to the commission. So when they come to FCCPC, they have, we have our, what is it called? We have our, hotlines. We have our, social media platform, or they can even file a complaint formally, physically to any of our offices nationwide. And we take the matter up from there. We investigate the matter, and where we feel that the entity is found culpable, we issue the, necessary sanctions.
Yeah, currently we're actually handling some matters like that to file complaints against to the FCCPC on that, and then we're hoping to see progress in it, because at the end of it all, right, like we said, consumers need to be protected, and like there'll be really nothing to the law if at the end of it all, everyone just allowed to put up their business, put up their ads, put up their, be it on social media, be it on digital traditional forms of advertising, and then without ensuring that they're carrying out the right messages at all time, and it is truthful in the sense of it. Right. Having heard the conversation so far, emphasizing consumer rights, emphasizing the steps and multinationals, local brands need to take, I would like to ask, what exactly is that last takeaway point you think you need to put out there, like that last, like your last card that you need to take today?
Well, I would like to re-emphasize what my brother Fred has said. We should understand that the primary purpose of all the FCCPC and the ARCON Act is to protect the consumers. While we allow businesses to do their ads without hindrances, we should at the same time let them understand that, look, the primary purpose is to protect the interests of consumers. They should not be deceived. Advertisement must be decent. It must be ethical. And we should understand that we need to safeguard the interest of the Nigerian population and as a primary aim. We are not asking businesses not to maximize profit or seek for a way to attract customers and patronage. But while doing that, they should be mindful of the fact that, look, we need to keep our ecosystem decent when it has to do with advertising. Thank you.
Mr. Fred, any final words?
Yeah, we, just like we keep saying, we want to continue to encourage Nigerian consumers that the government has made provisions to protect their rights. They should take advantage of those, provisions. Read the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act. Like I said, Section 114 to Section 131 speaks on the rights of the Nigerian consumers. The Commission also, that's the FCCPC, has also taken the liberty to have a complaint portal developed. So all you need to do, go to the website, the complaint portal is there, file your complaint, we receive them, and we treat them, we dispatch. So I want to encourage the Nigerian consumers, take advantage of the opportunities that have been put out there, by the government. The government has developed framework to protect your rights. So take advantage of them. Then for the businesses that are putting out advertisement out there, I want to tell you, have the Nigerian consumers, at heart. When you are releasing ads, let your advertisement be that are not misleading or deceptive. Put out decent advertisements. And also, let Nigerian consumers know the truth. Let your advertisement, let it be a real, or better goods. Let it be something that is, has its own limitations that you put out there. Like if you say a product has less sugar or no sugar, let it not be something that has less sugar or that is garnished with sweetenings. If a financial institution is putting out, adverts, don't put your hidden charges in fine prints. Make it known. Let it be explicit. Let it be bold, that the Nigerian consumers will be able to make an informed decision. And also to let you know too, that where you lead the Nigerian consumers astray by deceptive or misrepresenting advertisement, the law is there to penalize you. Thank you, Ezeaba.
We've had a very insightful conversation, starting from the principles of advertising, understanding how the law is emphasizing that advertisement being shown to Nigerian consumers needs to be truthful, fair, honest. The law is not going to close its eyes to seeing misleading advertising or necessarily just going ahead to do your ads without getting the necessary approvals from the commission, from the council. And it's very important that brands take note of this. And that is the essence of this podcast today. Now, looking at it from the angle of the brand agencies, the influencers, it's also important that they know that from start of, before embarking into putting out an ad, you need to have like a checklist. You need to reach out to necessary professionals. You need to reach out to a legal team that is able to guide you through the process and say, you know what, okay, these are the do's and these are the don'ts. Basically just checkmating it with looking through the different regulatory authorities, because as we've learned, there are certain products that are restricted. The timings of publishing them, the timings of doing these ads are restricted. You need to get necessary approvals, even for social media marketing. So this is why it is really important that you get the right team of professionals that work with you and run you through the entire process. So then you don't invest money in an ad and end up getting penalties and fines to pay for it. Thank you very much for listening. Feel free to share your comments in the comment section below. And don't forget, if you need guidance, you can reach us on the email addresses displayed on your screen. And don't forget to come back and watch the next episode of our podcast. Bye.